welcome to the Get Offset podcast. My name is Andrew.
I'm Emily.
And I'm Chad Jennings.
Woo!
Yeah.
Where are you from, Chad?
I'm from beautiful Ventura, California.
And why does your name sound so familiar?
I have no idea. Do you have roots in California?
No, I feel like there's a guitar company.
A guitar company? I wonder who you're talking about. Nah. I
see what
definitely
you did
build
there.
guitars.
Today joining us, we've got Chad Jennings from the company Jennings Guitars.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm just super hyped because I grew up in Southern California, little known fact, but most of my childhood was spent in a small town not too far off from Ventura. And it's just super exciting to have someone from the Central Coast on the show. Makes me really happy.
I'm excited.
And it's really funny to have you on the show because earlier this month, this episode will drop on Christmas, but earlier this month we released an episode about our dream guitars, and you all popped up.
No way.
Yeah, actually.
I would love to hear more about that little section.
Yeah, but it was before we even had started talking about having you on the show. We had already had you on our radar, and both of us are a huge fan of dog hair finishes.
Oh yeah, dog hair is fun. I feel like every time I do it, it's a battle to get it to come out the way I want.
Oh, I mean, I've done one, and it is.
Did you?
Oh my gosh.
I remember the first time I saw a guitar with the dog hair finish. It was at the Guitar Center on Sunset Strip.
No
and
way.
I picked up an Epiphone. Was it Coronet?
Yeah.
The silver fox finish, and I just thought it was the coolest flipping thing. I was like, "Whoa!" The pores like stand out in a weird way, but it's not like a stained guitar. It was so I just really loved how it looked, and I'm anything with the name Fox in it. I'm a huge fan of. My last name means fox in French. So I have a particular attachment there, and so I saw that I was like, "Whoa, that's super cool!" It looked cool. The name was cool. I mean, it was just So someday I would love to own one of those, but
well, we might have to make that happen.
We might.
But yeah, the first question I get asked about dog hairs is like, "Oh, how did you paint that on here?" It's like, no, that wasn't painted. That's natural wood with grain filler, and that's the effect.
I would love to talk to you about that.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about your company.
That's a big question.
It's a journey, isn't it?
It's a journey. I think just like all good long journeys, they start with a passion for something, and mine was it's always been like crafting things and building things. So guitar making came naturally with a growing passion for music in middle school, and many years later I found myself working lots of hours building things with strings. And yeah, I don't know, my philosophy is I want to build the best guitar I can because I'm fascinated with the nuances of what makes a guitar and just the enjoyment of always progressing and pushing forwards. So it's kind of like my main build philosophy. And then, I don't know, just build guitars that inspire people. So that's like, I don't know, it's bare bones of the company. And then from there, you constantly challenge yourself. And as you challenge yourself, your art shows. And then, I don't know, people kind of gravitate to it. And it's a long journey. And it's only just begun.
It's only just begun. Now that I might edit out.
No, if you can't edit out your own singing. Okay, every once in a while, a couple times recently, I've busted out in a really off-key rendition of a song that's
It was Bob Marley earlier today.
Ooh, yeah, that was awkward.
That was great. I listened to it later.
It's never on key. I swear, I'm capable of singing. I'm not a great singer, but I'm capable of it. Every time I do it on the podcast, it just comes out awful. So if I don't get edited out, I think Emily doesn't get edited out. I think, is that fair?
That's fair. I might edit out everything you said after I sang. I'm just kidding.
No, you have to leave that.
You have to remind people. I think you have to remind people that I sang Bob Marley.
They haven't heard that episode yet.
Oh,
That's the funniest part. they will have to wait. Just something to look forward to, something to live for. Yeah, but how would you tell us? I mean, I've been looking at your website and I really love the shapes of your guitars and, of course, the finishes.
And of course, you have an offset, so by default, we just love you.
Yeah,
Yeah, we do have one offset. I want to make more offsets. I don't know. There's like, I feel like there's 100 guitars you can design, but you only end up using like 4 of them. But yeah, why offset? Because people love them and because they look awesome. Kind of the designs that we've come up with is just kind of simple, classic lines, stuff that occupies the same visual real estate as kind of your vintage go-to stuff, but it's still fresh in some of its more simplified lines and modernized in a few different ways. But yeah, I found it difficult to design guitars that do look good but aren't exactly replicas of the past guitars. And
Right, because everybody can do a Strat copy.
yeah, and my whole thing is like, what makes a guitar timeless? And I think looking at a lot of the classic or vintage guitars that are still around today, you look at a Strat, it's like it's still so relevant, which is so strange because it's, was it going on like 70 years or something like that?
Something like,
60,
yeah.
70 years.
I mean, I've got one
So
hanging on my wall right in front of me right now. So
yeah, so just try to keep it classic and simple, and um, yeah, it's kind of
that's awesome.
what I do.
all right, so I'm gonna be that guy, but I
Be
feel
that
like you're
guy.
being way too humble, dude. Um, because I did a little bit of research into some of your background, your history, and you're legit. You've got training, and you went to school for this, and you learned from some people who have some storied reputations in the gear industry and connections with Martin
Yeah.
and whatnot. And I just, can you tell me a little bit more about? I just want to live vicariously through the experience that you had, because one part jealous and three parts incredibly fascinated.
Yeah. Um, Shoot, I'll kind of start with my schooling background. So, or lack thereof, really. So I started originally going to college for fire technology. I wanted to be a firefighter, and the whole reason I wanted to do that, even taking a step further, when I was in ninth grade, I told my dad I want to build guitars, and I want to do this full time. And so we looked up kind of what a luthier makes on average, and it was like $40,000. And my dad's like, maybe let's find a way that you can do that on the side. So I thought was like, okay, be a firefighter. A lot of times you have 24 ons, 24 offs. On your off day, you can build. So, long story short, taking fire tech classes, I actually enjoy most of the stuff, but I was finding that in my fire tech classes, I was reading forums on like what makes a better guitar, what materials to use. If I do this, what happens then? How do guitar amps work? How to modify tube amps? And I'm just like, okay, apparently I need to change career paths. And then so I was like, okay, I'll go to school for engineering, and then started getting into calculus, and I really struggle with calculus. So I'm like, well, engineering is kind of heavily rooted on calculus, so that's
Right.
not going to
That's
work.
kind of like the basis of it.
And then I was like, after I failed a calculus class, and I was like, okay, I'm going to switch to doing kind of just a general business, and I like. I was like, oh my gosh, I need calculus for business too. I was sitting in that class and I was like, I'm done. I was like a week into that class and I looked for guitar building schools, and I put together a plan and kind of submitted it to my dad because I was living at my parents' house at the time. I said, Dad, I'm going to do this. He's like, all right. So, um, what was it? Summer of 2013, I spent time with two different acoustic making luthiers. The first one was in Nazareth, Pennsylvania, which was the one you're referring to, with Dale Unger of American Archtop. I learned how to build an archtop acoustic in a week long course that he had there. And yeah, kind of Dale's history is he actually used to work for, oh shoot, I can't even remember his name now. Big archtop maker, Bob Benedetto. He kind of
Yep.
apprenticed under Bob Benedetto, and then and I believe Bob was from Nazareth, Pennsylvania. But yeah, so he worked there, and then eventually he started his own guitar making practice, which is the brand of American Archtop, and at one point he was working with Martin Guitars and actually making arch tops for Martin, or at least designed a line that Martin did, I want to say in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, that was a great course. Nazareth, Pennsylvania is beautiful. It's just a small town, but it's got a lot of history being as old as it is. And actually, he has the ideal luthier shop. So he's got a traditional, he purchased a rundown traditional like church.
Mm-hmm.
The main level where like the, I don't know, sanctuary was.
Like the pews and the pulpit and all that.
Yeah, the pews were pulled out, but stage is still there and actually can be used for sound and stage stuff. And then they also converted that area, and there's like a kitchen in there. So like some guy lived there at one point, and then
Crazy.
in the basement is a guitar shop. So you have room for a stage. You've got a kitchen. There's like a loft, and I'm just like, dude, you guys scored. He told me he paid something stupid cheap for it, and I'm just like, I wish this would happen in Southern California.
Right.
But that's a long goose or rabbit trail. But yeah, so I went there, and then later that summer I worked with another builder by the name of Jay Lichty in North Carolina. He builds incredible arch or flat top acoustics, and I took a flat top class with him. So that was kind of that. And then around that time, once I got back from these classes, I started doing just random guitar building and repair at my parents' house. Um, more frequently. I was doing some before, but we ended up building a shed to devote to it instead of like pulling out tools out of the garage into the driveway and doing woodworking. It was like all sanctioned in a shed. And then, yeah, the summer after that, or the summer to fall, I went to Gallup School of Luthery in Michigan and took their course there and got a certificate in guitar making and repair. And that was fun. I went through, built an acoustic while I was there, an electric, and yeah, after that, came back and opened the Jennings guitar shop.
Well, consider me impressed.
Yeah, it was fun, long journey. um, but yeah, I don't know. Like, how do you get trained up in building guitars? It's like, it's one of those where they can teach you as much as they can, but you
Mm-hmm.
really just have to do it. And you have to make mistakes. Yeah, and
Mm-hmm.
lots of
Oh, I
them.
made mistakes with that one time I tried to do the
Yeah.
dog hair finish on that piece of mahogany, and I had to completely redo the front because I just sanded back a little bit too far.
Oh, isn't that aggravating?
Oh, so yeah, and you take the finish with it, and you're like, ah, no, I was so close. Yes.
And then you try to
Why?
touch up, and
Oh,
you're
you
just like,
can't. You
oh,
can't. You
oh,
cannot touch up that dog hair finish.
oh.
It's very satisfying when it works. Um, Gosh, I would have to imagine that's an upcharge when you do it. I would hope.
Yeah, we do. I
Yeah.
just recently raised it because I'm like, it just takes me so much more time than
Yeah.
what it is. Like me being a
It took
cheap,
me like 4 hours.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
insane. And then there's prep for it, and you gotta, I don't know, make enough allowance if you do have to strip the finish too.
Mm. Oh,
And yeah,
it's gorgeous when it turns out. I don't think there's anything more beautiful. Yeah.
It's
thank
so
you.
worth it.
Yeah, it's
I saw that mint chip one that you did
Oh yeah.
recently. I was just like, oh my
That was a
god,
good
it's
one.
so good looking.
yeah. I don't know if you saw any of the more recent ones that we've done. I actually just posted it like today, or no, it was earlier this week. It is a white dog hair
Oh
Voyager
I
Deluxe
yeah.
did see that.
I saw that.
Yeah, I
with the
saw
natural
that.
brown sides and the roasted maple neck. Oh man, that one
Mm.
came out so good. That was one of those where you're like, yeah, all of them should turn out like this.
That is a handsome guitar.
Thank you. But yeah, little dog hair. I
Mm.
don't know. That's a question for you guys. What finishes should we do? Kind of what should I look into?
Dog hair.
Well, what finishes I want, what finishes you should invest your business into doing are two different
Andrew
questions.
wants a pink dog hair.
You want a pink dog hair?
Shell pink dog hair with a tortoise shell pick guard.
What color grain fill?
That I don't
I have
know.
a black. I have that combo with black grain fill coming out in about a week or two. Or
Ooh.
Send me
it
a
will be
picture.
manufactured, or I just need to do the final buff on it in assembly. But that's what we're doing. We did a pair of it's got a Strat trem on it, and it's got a Ronin, Ronin like foil buckers. You know those big old pickups?
I don't know if I'm familiar with that
Oh, they're
company.
massive.
I've seen Water Slide does I think I want to say does the double gold foil,
Yeah,
Mm.
those are
and that's
awesome.
just
I
gigantic.
actually just talked to that guy not too long ago. He's kind of looking for some like CNC help.
Well, yeah, send me a picture of that. It's one of those things where like I imagine it's gonna look really good in my head, but I'm really scared to see what it's actually gonna look like, and then just have my dreams dashed.
Yeah,
But no, I'd love to do something like that, like with the tortoiseshell binding. I'm a sucker for binding.
you know, I did the tortoiseshell binding on that one, and I did the authentic nitrate tortoiseshell.
Ooh, that was.
Um,
Uh-huh.
How was the shipping cost on that?
you know, there is a supplier that either it doesn't go through their system, but it just shipped normal.
Oh wow.
We quoted out a lot of them in order to find that.
Yeah. Oh
I'm not going
man.
to say who or what,
Yeah, please
or if it's an error or
don't
if
ruin
it's
the fun
not,
for everybody.
um, but anyways, the stuff glues on really nicely. It's really easy to work with until you sand it. So basically, guitar is final sanded, right? Um, you got to be careful. Like even hand sanding creates enough friction to, I want to say, open and off gas the nitrate. So basically,
Oh, crazy.
I had it was on a neck, right? So I bound a neck. I sanded it, final sanded it, put my coats of lacquer on it. Oh, this is doing great. I came back a week or two later because it was still sitting on the drying rack, and the binding had shrank enough where I could feel the edges of the fretboard or the neck, not the fretboard, but the neck
Man.
where the binding had shrunk in. So this is actually for that dog hair shell pink one I'm doing right now. I went back through and kind of scuff sanded those areas really lightly, and it's actually good now. But I'm like, ooh, wow, this is not cool.
It's touchy.
Yeah, so I'm on the fence about using that stuff in the future because
Hmm.
of its lack of consistency.
I mean, that's totally fair.
But I'm not gonna lie, it's some of the most beautiful stuff I've ever used for binding by far.
That sounds really nice.
All right.
I just don't want to heavy breathe into the microphone, so I'm gonna put the Instagram away.
Yeah, no, it's definitely you've got some drool worthy stuff.
Thank you.
Speaking of drool worthy stuff,
Yes.
this episode is brought to you by Lambritone Pickups. I have a pair of Jazzmaster Cremas that I bought that I cannot
Ooh.
wait to put in one of my offsets. Um, I'm probably going to do a video of that, but yep, Curtis is a sponsor of the show. He's a great guy who makes great pickups. And if you love your Jazzmaster, but you don't roll with those single coils, um, there aren't a lot of options out there that I think are as good as his humbucking Jazzmaster Cremas.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I this kills it. So I just got my King of Tone yesterday. Super excited. I just plugged it in today and was playing through it with some cremas, and I just
Ooh.
it was in the like in the best way possible. I was frustrated because I'm sitting here. I'm like, this sounds so good, but how much of this is the King of Tone and how much of this is the cremas? Because I know how good the cremas sound. It just was driving me nuts. But yeah, absolute tone heaven over here with the cremas. I swear I don't hardly plug in any other guitar these
Mm-hmm.
days. It's ruined me.
I know the guys at Worship Tutorials, if anyone listens into them, they just rave about those pickups.
Yeah, Brian just did that Epiphone,
Yeah.
the gold top
He's asked
rebuild.
yeah. He's asking me to build a guitar for him with those pickups in it.
Do it.
Do it.
So I might have to take him up on it.
Do it.
We'll connect you with Curtis. He's a great guy.
Yeah,
I could not say enough good things about him.
totally.
All right, well let's pop into the topic today. We're just gonna jump right in, and I'll open it up. So today we're gonna get into a discussion that some folks have had
Is
before,
it about
and
cats?
it's not about cats.
Ooh, I like
Um,
cats. Mainly dogs.
yeah, I guess before. Okay, hmm. I agree with Chad. I know I've been masquerading as a cat lover this whole time, and not that I don't love cats, but at heart I'm a dog person. I just I feel like I need to confess um, to everyone listening to the show before I feel like I ruin their childhoods with the lies and the
This is
masquerading.
Confession Corner with Andrew Renard.
Yes, lots of confessions. You've got me on the ropes.
He's a
All right.
drummer and he's a dog person.
Yep. All right. So today's topic, we're going to talk about the relationship between manufacturing techniques and the price tags. And if you just heard that and said, "Ooh, I'm going to go ahead and turn this off," bear with us for a second. I promise this is about to get a little scandalous and a little hairy, and we're going to get into it with Chad. And I think this is going to be great.
Yeah.
So the premise of this is I've heard this conversation over the years in a number of different ways, but the idea of how you make it, where you make it, and how that is attached to the price tag of a guitar. And so if you have a guitar that's completely built from hand, or not from hand, by hand, from start to finish, then it's worth X amount of dollars. I mean, for something like that, we're looking at probably in the 4K range. But if someone, a builder, uses machinery to help along the process, well, maybe they shouldn't be charging as much, or it's not as good of a product even, or some of the accusations. And yeah, I just kind of want to start there. That I'm not saying that's how I feel about it, but we're gonna jump into it from that perspective. Of this is a conversation that's been had, and we're gonna embark on a fun little journey here where we get to talk about this with Chad, who builds guitars,
Yeah.
does an excellent job of it, and I just really want to pick his brain. We're gonna get into it. How's that sound?
I'm stoked, honestly.
Questions, comments, concerns?
When can I start?
I just so happy to hear someone else say stoked. Not have me being the only dude from California be like, yeah, dude, I'm
I'm
stoked.
stoked to go surf at Surf Beach, actually.
Baby shark, dude. Oh,
Everyone look it up. Surf Beach. Great
I'll
Whites.
put it in the show notes.
Yeah.
yeah, that's the kind of stuff I grew up. I watched Shark Week. I'm like, oh, I know that beach. Oh,
Ooh.
oh
Ah,
no!
man.
Never going back to that beach again.
Oh,
All
gosh.
right, all right, Chad. So
Guitar making. That's what we're talking about.
yes, I just laid all of that out, and I know you use CNC machines.
I am.
With
I am a bad boy using
you are terrible.
CNC
So
machines in my shop. Actually, it's singular. I only have one. But yeah, guitars. What are they? They're made of wood. They make music. They're amazing, and we all love them. Most importantly, is it's made out of wood, and does it matter how it got its shape? I really don't think it does, in my experience. But I think what's the most important is the QC, quality control, on every level and step of the build process, and that starts. And I cannot stress this enough, with the wood. With the best sounding woods are usually quarter sawn woods that are straight grained. That just gives you the best tone for your neck, bodies for electric guitars. If you can get them quarter sawn, that's great. Um,
And what does that mean, quarter zone?
oh, thank you. This is how engrossed I am into my own industry. So, uh, your tree has its growth rings, right? If you had a tree cut, I guess.
like a bunch of concentric circles.
Exactly. So, looking at that, if you were to make saw cuts through those concentric circles, you're trying to cut it like a pie. You're trying to quarter it up. And basically, when you have your neck blank, right, and you're looking at the end grain on it, you want those lines to be vertical. That's called quarter sawn. Typically, you see flat sawn wood, which um, the grain lines are going to be parallel to the thickness of the board. Does that make sense?
Yes, I think so.
And when you like do your research on it, basically the quarter sawn material is stiffer. From what I've found from picking up and dropping pieces of wood, like so a maple piece that's about the same size, that's quarter sawn versus flat sawn, it tends to have more of a bell-like tone. It rings better, it rings longer, it has more snap and a more direct or instantaneous response, or presence to it. So
It's not as soggy.
exactly, it's got just a beautiful attack to it. So starting with quarter sawn wood is really important. Um, and like I said, I use CNC, so clearly I'm an advocate for it. If I thought anything else, I would go the other way. But in my opinion, CNC makes it more consistent.
And
Um,
what is CNC?
CNC is, by definition, it's computer numeric control. So that's, you draw on the computer the shape, and then which is called your CAD program, computer aided drawing, and then you bring it into a CAM, computer aided milling program, where you tell your tool where to go and how to cut out that piece of wood or
So it's
whatever you're
almost
cutting
like
out.
the opposite of a 3D printer.
Oh my gosh, that analogy is so relevant to our generation. But
I
it,
know.
I'm like trying to tell that to someone who's in their 50s or 60s. They get it, but it's like not the first thing they think of.
Do they get like automatic router?
Yeah, yeah, people get
Yeah.
that more.
Yeah.
So I spend a lot of time programming the machine to cut out guitars consistently, and it takes some time to kind of work with your machine to get the final cut the way you want it, so you don't have to sand and spend as much time. Um, but it also takes a while to dial in the shape of the neck. You know, when you're shaping by hand, you you're able to do it entirely by hand. So for me, I spent a lot of time figuring out what's the right neck shape, and also bear in mind, like off the CNC, the guitar is like 80% of the way done. You still have another 20% to finish it, being sanding, um, fretting, and like what we do is we roll the fretboard edge to make it smooth and just feel nice in your hand. And but all those appointments are done by hand, so like the final neck shape is really hand shaped to something that's comfortable, that I feel is comfortable and nimble for guitar playing. So
So you're telling me that I shouldn't be complaining?
you shouldn't be complaining, man.
Well, okay, but what if I want you to cut down the tree yourself, and then I want you to hand quarter saw it?
And I want you to put it in your shed and let it age for 6 years.
Oh, I can totally do that. It will probably cost you about $20,000.
I just want to make sure that this is handmade
Yeah,
in the USA.
and handmade in the USA with only hand tools, no power.
No power whatsoever. I expect you to
That
be
includes
Amish.
you rode your bike to receive the material or had a horse and buggy,
I was about to say
right?
a bicycle that's some advanced
Yeah, it's
technology.
pretty advanced actually.
Yeah, that's pretty modern technology.
Wheels, yeah. Ooh, we're gonna have to talk about that.
We'll just float it down the river and I'll get it up when it comes downstream.
And then you'll have a Stradivarius.
Exactly. That's how it works, right? You put it in the river and out comes a wonderfully, beautifully handcrafted violin
Right.
or guitar, whatever you choose.
Anyways, I'm just being snarky at this point, but
Oh man.
no, I definitely tend to agree. I definitely agree with you on that. Just because I don't know, like I haven't built a guitar myself, but I've done woodworking and stuff, and I know that 98% of the time the saw cuts are never like you don't ever leave it that. There's
Yeah.
always sanding to be done, and there's always finishing touches. And I actually kind of like the idea of idea of consistency and the quality control that you can get with that.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, to echo back a few episodes back when we interviewed Curtis from Lambertones,
Yeah.
and he was talking about this idea of how his pickups are machine wound. And initially thought, I was like, wow, I drove all the way out here to talk to someone who winds his pickups with a machine. I feel so ripped off. And
Right.
after getting to talk to him about it, I'm like, oh, actually, if that means that you can get your levels to be way more consistent from each unit to unit to unit, just down to a science, why are we so hung up on the not necessarily handmade, but the that it has to be done a certain way at the expense of that kind of quality?
I
Yeah.
think I wonder if it's this idea of like artisanship and like I think that's just such a big thing, especially with our generation is, small batch this, artisan that. And
Well,
Yeah.
it's like an Etsy kind of thing.
yeah,
It's like that personal touch.
but I mean, that doesn't always make it a better product.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a hard line to walk, um, because it's all in the finishing touches, and whether it's CNC or handmade, it's like you
And
can.
Fit and finish.
it's his testing. It's his rigorous testing and like changing one thing at a time and putting it in the
Yeah.
guitar. Let's do it all again. And
Yeah.
like he's still the one doing that. It's not like he found some formula on the internet, plugged it into his computer made a machine and is charging people exorbitant amounts of money for something that was open source. He's doing all of that front work, and he has this process that enables, to make sure that what you hear in demos is what you're getting in reality.
Yeah.
And all of that to be said, my understanding from what I've seen on your website and prices and stuff, you actually offer some awfully competitive prices, and that's grabbed
Thank
my
you.
attention. Because as much as I'd love to spend $4,000 on a custom guitar, or $5,000, or some of the things I've seen, like for like a Fender custom shop,
Yeah.
I don't have that kind of coin. I
Yeah.
just don't.
How much are
But
what is the range?
For Fender custom shop,
No,
or
no, no, for Jennings.
our Voyager solid body starts at 2100, and you can option it up from there. And then our semi hollows, either Voyager Deluxe or Catalina, they start at 24 and go up. But we just introduced our Navigator, which is, yes,
Woo!
our Tele model for those who love Teles. It's a very basic model, and there's a few options you can change at this point, but it starts at 1500.
Wow, that's
Um,
very
And
reasonable.
1500's like the American made Fender price point
yeah,
right now, isn't it?
I've even heard it's up to 1650. Unfortunately, I haven't even done my research to see how much American Fenders are going for. But yeah, so but it's like we're still getting the same play and feel as our Voyager and Catalina. It's just Telly's. There's something about a Telly in its simplicity in design that I was able to cut enough time out of the equation to maintain a high quality guitar at a lower price point with high quality sound. So to me, it was kind of
Which is
a
just
no brainer.
super cool. Yeah, I'm all about that. And so, I mean, those are super competitive prices.
They are, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, I can.
I'm not someone who has a ton of expendable money,
Yeah.
but that's awfully tempting.
yeah. So that's what I do. I'm a firm believer in keeping things cheap and well made. It kind of blows my mind that the guitars are actually as expensive as they are. I wish I could make them cheaper, but if I make them any cheaper, I probably won't be able to afford to eat. So
Which is important.
yeah,
Rumor
if
has
you're
it,
gonna keep me around, I should probably eat some food.
at least a little bit.
um, but yeah,
Just in and out 2 or 3 times a week. That should keep you going,
oh
right?
dude, that's way too expensive.
God,
Well,
I miss In and Out so much, dude.
it's good. I think there's other things. My appetite has changed since I've gotten married to much more simple foods because that's all
Mm.
we can afford and that's all we have time to make is simple stuff. But yeah, a lot of rice and beef, ground beef
Mm,
with some rice, good jasmine rice and coconut oil.
a lot of
Ooh,
eggs.
eggs.
Oh,
Yeah, we have a top ramen hack that we do.
nice.
It's it's top ramen in like chicken broth, and then you poach 2 eggs in it,
Ooh.
and it's really
That
yummy.
does sound
Mm.
tasty.
It's the budget food hack.
As long as you don't think too hard about the fact that you're like boiling unborn eggs
They're
with
not. They're not.
the
They're
juices
not
of a.
fertilized.
Exactly.
That's why I said eggs, not zygotes. Let's be fair here.
That's true. That's true.
I mean,
Andrew has a good point.
but eh,
I mean, what came first, the chicken or the egg? I mean,
neither.
ooh, existential crisis ensuing.
Yep.
I'm gonna go cry into a pillow. Be right back.
Oh, I have not even begun. Well, I just want to say to you guys, Merry Christmas.
Merry
As this
Christmas.
episode will air, well, it will drop on Christmas, so I imagine most people won't listen to it until the day after. And when I think about Christmas, I think about 8-year-old Emily getting her first guitar on Christmas morning.
Yes.
There's photographic evidence. I'll try to find it.
Emily, what was that guitar?
Oh, it was just some little classical guitar. It wasn't anything fancy.
Do you remember it still?
Yeah, I definitely remember it, but
Do you have it still?
no.
Ah,
No, but I learned more on my mom's old Epiphone acoustic,
okay.
and I guess she would prefer me to call it vintage Epiphone acoustic. And she still has that, so that was my big learning guitar, my learning
Yeah.
acoustic guitar. I'm not nostalgic about things like first guitars. My first electric guitar, I sold at a yard sale, and I hope some girl used it to start a band.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm kind of the same way. I I do have the first guitar I made, but I sold like the first guitars that were like purchased and like given to me. Um, but yeah,
I have the opposite problem. I hold on to everything I can.
to me
It's
it's just stuff.
it's almost it's almost to the point where it's a problem. I don't know. I get
I know you've moved a lot. I mean, I've moved a lot, and that's kind of made me a little less nostalgic. Though really, the guitars when we moved to Seattle from Nashville, the guitars were the pretty much the only reason we didn't just get rid of all of our furniture and start fresh,
yep.
because we needed to rent a van
Huh.
anyway.
Yep. Yeah, we had that when we moved from LA up here to Seattle. But no, I'm not like I'm attached to my guitars and my equipment in like an unhealthy kind of way. And I maybe I'm wrong. You guys can decide. Um, listeners, please, if you think I'm on crack here, call me out on it. Maybe I need an intervention. Um, but I don't know. I've moved around so much, especially in the last decade. I mean, golly, since I graduated high school, I haven't lived in one spot for more
Oh
than 15
wow,
months.
that's
So I'm just constantly bouncing around, and it's just that's something that I just bring with me everywhere. Is my guitars is just the like one of the constants I have, and so that's just part of what keeps me grounded. And I've just got so much history with different shows I've played with, different guitars I've got, and yeah,
totally.
so that's kind of my shtick with it. Is it's a little time portal for me that I connect with each one individually in a
That's
different
cool.
way. They've all got their own mojo.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I sent to a friend the first like parts caster I ever put together. I just nostalgia like I have a lot of guitars, but I don't think it's nostalgia that's making me keep them. What about you guys? You ever get any awesome guitar related Christmas gifts?
I my first real guitar was a Christmas tree find, I would call it. I woke up when Santa brought me a Gibson SG. I didn't know Santa was had cahoots over at the Gibson factory, but definitely one showed up in my house, so that was pretty awesome.
Oh man, you must have been a very good boy that year.
I don't know.
I hear skepticism there. I feel like you pulled the wool over Santa's eyes.
um, I could be classified as stubborn, strong-willed, um, independent thinker, all those things that are great qualities, maybe minus stubbornness, but yeah.
Yeah, I hear that.
Yep,
Mm.
exactly. Coupled with love from
What about
your family, and you
Aw,
come out pretty good eventually.
Graciousness
yeah.
and yeah, I've been there before. I kn- I more so on the receiving end of the grace because I need extra doses of it. But I'm jealous. That's super
Yeah,
cool.
I
I
was
think
blown away.
my big gear gift was um not Christmas related, but tax return season. So not far off. But my first drum set
Oh
was
yeah.
a tax return
Yes.
present. Uh, and I played that until um, I sold it when I was in college finally. But that was a heartbreaker to see go. But didn't
It
have space for it. That was just
that's
something
my
that needed to
brother's
go.
story. For the listeners who don't know, my brother Kyle and Andrew went to the same college at about the same years, have all the same friends, but never really
Uh,
met.
yeah, I
That's
know
so
who he is.
wild.
Looked him up on Facebook. I saw photos of him. Like, yeah, we've got so many mutual friends, and like he had gone to a wedding this last summer. Like
No.
all of the groomsmen were
Yeah.
friends of mine. I'm like, oh my god,
Yeah.
what the heck? I'd just be curious to see. Like, I was really quiet in college. I'd be curious to see if your brother recognized me if he pulled up
He
like a Facebook
might. He's
profile
a
photo.
sweet guy. He's like loud and outspoken, but he loves people.
You're saying
Yeah,
your
he
brother's
like
story.
played drums forever. He and I would like practice in my bedroom. My poor parents. He would play drums and sold his drum set going off to college, and now he's still living down there. He's like, dude, I want to get a drum set again so bad. I'm like, do it, man, do it.
Do it.
Yeah, he and his roommates play a bunch of music, more worship type stuff together. But yeah, he's like, man, I want to build that shed in the backyard again. We'll get the drums in there and we'll have band practice, man. I was like, yes, I miss it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, fellas, it's been real. It's
Oh, it is
getting
late.
late. Um, yes, it is late. Or is it early?
It's late for adulthood. It's not late for college, but
Long
those
past
years
all of us.
are past us now.
Oh, speak for yourself, Andrew. I was a 10 p.m. in bed kind of guy in college.
You mean gal?
Oh, I know.
No,
I
I
just
had
I try to keep it I also had 8 a.m. accounting classes,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
ugh.
see I for multiple semesters, not every semester, but multiple semesters, my sleep schedule was about 3 or 4 a.m. and I'd get up at 7, go to classes, and then maybe a couple different semesters where I didn't have any afternoon classes. I would take a nap from after lunch from like 1 to 5, and I would just 2 like 4-hour blocks, and that was it.
Were you a vampire?
Most productive, well, because then I would get up at 5. I would go eat dinner with everybody. We'd hang out, go to the movies or whatever, and then everybody would start crashing out around midnight, and I'd get my homework done in a 3-4 hour block after
That
that.
actually kind of
So
makes
I was
sense
able,
in a college scenario.
it worked great for me. It was some of the most productive years of my life. I had a great time.
Wow.
Um, but no way I could get away with
Oh my
that
gosh,
now.
no.
Unfortunately, we are all getting older and we all need to sleep.
Getting old and cranky.
Oh gosh, so many things are popping and cracking.
Oh, it's great.
Ugh.
Oh, yeah. Well, Chad, again, thank you so much for joining us. We really hope to have you on the show again sometime to
I'd
talk
love to.
Yeah, I
shop.
really
Yeah.
enjoyed this.
Yeah. You guys can have a whole episode that's just about how to get from one place in California to another.
Yeah, all those different freeway numbers that don't mean anything to anyone other than people from California.
You're from LA, right?
Kind of. I'm just north of it. I call my location the Greater LA area. I grew up in a Gora Hills or like Thousand Oaks area, if you know that.
Yeah, I'm familiar with the
So
area.
it's like not LA, but you're like literally 10 minutes from it. So it pretty much
Right
is.
on the edge. Right.
But yeah, guys, thank you. Seriously.
Absolutely.
Thank you. And to everyone who's been listening, thanks for listening and thanks for understanding. We'll see you all soon.
Awesome.
See you on the flippity floppity.
Bye.
Bye.